大家观众你好，我们是 CIN 中文国际电视台。今天跟 James Trippon，他是中国股票文字的 China Stock Digest 的总裁。Jim, we're very happy to be with you today on CIN with your company here, China Stock Digest. Jim is the director of China Stock Digest. And we're going to ask a few questions. 先要问你怎么开始做中国的股票的工作 How did you start to get into it, the Chinese stock industry?
Well, I started personally investing in China in the 1980s through Hong Kong, as a lot of international investors do. And over the years, of course, in addition to researching Chinese stocks, I also manage investment portfolios for a number of very wealthy Chinese American families here in the United States. And so they wanted more and more information about the Chinese companies and the Chinese industries that would be the engine of global economic growth in decades and years to come. And so that's really what got me into it in the mid-1980s.
OK, 你什么时候从香港到中国走你的投资 How did you go make the transition from Hong Kong to China in terms of investment?
Well, for foreign investors, for American investors, the only choices that they have are to buy Chinese stocks either that trade in New York or in Hong Kong as H shares, or that trade in China as B shares. These are different categories of stocks that trade in the public markets. And so many of the top companies of China trade not only in Shanghai or Shenzhen, but also in Hong Kong and New York. And so our way of analyzing these companies initially, of course, was to come in through Hong Kong, but over the years we've developed relationships with management of companies, we've developed relationships with the financial media in China, and that's allowed us greater and greater information as far as what industries in China are poised for the best growth over the decades to come.
Now, 现在中国有两个大股票市场，一个是上海的，一个是深圳的。Jim, we'd like to ask you, what is the difference between Shanghai and Shenzhen markets? 跟上海跟深圳的股票市场有什么差别？
Well, they're both very exciting markets. Of course, we're in Houston, Texas, which is the sister city of Shenzhen, Texas. And I'm on the board of the Sister City Association. So my initial visit with the stock exchange officials was through the Sister City Association in Shenzhen. But Shenzhen is known in China as kind of the equivalent of the NASDAQ in the United States, where the higher growth-oriented companies, where the up-and-coming, sometimes a little bit smaller companies do their initial listing.
可以说，深圳的股票市场关于技术的股票 is that Shenzhen takes care of a lot of technology stock then?
They do. Of course, technology stocks also can trade on the big board in Shanghai as well. But typically, some of the younger, more dynamic companies, at least in the United States, would trade on the NASDAQ. You see the same types of companies, the same types of management trading in Shenzhen. Now, Shanghai, on the other hand, ultimately I feel will be the premier stock exchange of China, because that's really where the large major industries, really what the people in China call their national champion type companies, trade. So that's where you see companies like PetroChina, China Mobile, China Life Insurance, the real premier large companies of China will tend to trade in Shanghai.
最大的公司在上海。最有做新的东西，最有 innovation 的，可以说在深圳，也有混在一起的，不可以说深圳就是一个种类，上海是一个种类，可是可以说或者最大的公司在上海，技术的公司在深圳。Sorry, continue please. Very interesting.
So that's not to say that the companies that trade in Shanghai don't have innovation. You see some of the most innovative companies in the world also trading on Shanghai, but it's a difference of scale. So typically the larger, more established companies have been listed in Shanghai, and more of the dynamic up-and-coming type companies have been listing in Shenzhen.
关于中国的地区，东北、西南、西北、南方， 哪一个地区有哪一种的发展？Also like to ask you for each Chinese region or some of the more regions that come to notice, say the Northeast, Northwest, what can we say about the hot areas of industrial development in the different regions of China?
Well, as most stock market investors know, traditionally the greatest wealth has been along the coastal regions, and so reaching up from Guangzhou and Shenzhen in the south through Hong Kong up into Tianjin and Ningbo and Shanghai, traditionally you've seen a lot of industries there. And as the economy of China has continued to develop, many of the interior areas, whether it be the Northeast or the Northwest, really are not as involved in trading activities as they are in manufacturing. And when you look to the manufacturing, of course, the manufacturing sector has been affected by the global financial tsunami. And that's true both inside as well as outside of China. So when we get down to southern China, we see in Guangdong province the effect of a decrease in exports. And to a degree also we've seen this in both northwest and northeast China. Now, wonderfully for China, they've been able to avoid some of the consequences of this global financial tsunami. For the first half of 2009, GDP growth in China, the official numbers are above 7%. And the second quarter of 2009 actually was superior to the first quarter. They were both over 7%, but the low sevens for the first quarter, high sevens for the second quarter. When we look at regions like the Northwest and the Northeast, some of the best opportunities from an industry by industry basis are on some of the new green industries that are being developed.
Green industries, what are those? 氢的企业是哪一种的企业？
Well, China has made a major movement to make improvements in the environment and also in the area of energy efficiency. And so one of the challenges that China has experienced with its rapid economic development is that with increased economic activity, there can be increased greenhouse emissions, increased pollution. And so China has been very active in finding innovative ways to improve the environment. Specifically, some of the areas that the government is focusing on now, which create opportunities for investors like myself and for the people that follow our research, are in the areas of solar power and also in the area of wind power. And so, for example, when you fly over many of the coastal areas of China now, you see the wind farms just along the coastline where they are generating clean energy from wind turbines. But another area that is rapidly developing is the use of solar energy. And so the government has issued a number of subsidy programs and support programs to build this new industry from its infancy to where it's expected that within